This is the Honest Outlaw here, and today we're going to be doing another versus video. Hopefully this one's going to be a little quicker than the last ones, but we will have to see. We're going to be doing two of my favorite pistols of all time, and probably the top two choices I would use for a duty / defend my life pistol if I had to pick just one. First up is the Glock 17, probably one of the most popular pistols in America. A lot of police forces, even military and civilians carry these pistols all across the globe, not just the nation. And beside it is kind of an unknown pistol to most people in the United States, but it is the CZ P09. It is kind of based off the CZ 75 series. You can see a lot of similarities there. It's a double single action like that. It's got a very similar grip angle to it as well. That's one of the reasons why I really like it. I shoot the CZ AccuShadow in competition, so I like the similar grip angle and the similar action for my duty pistol. That way I don't have to think about it quite as much. That is definitely a bias of me. Most people will not have that bias because I don't think most people even know what CZs are unless you shoot competition or you're really into guns. But they make a great pistol, and that's why we're going to talk about them today. Starting out, what both these pistols come with. This pistol comes with, well, this is actually Gen 3, but the Gen 4s come with 3 magazines. That is a big plus. This is actually a Vickers Tactical Glock 17. It happens to be the only Glock 17 I own currently. It's not exactly stock, but we'll talk about it like it is stock. But it comes with 3 magazines. Traditionally, it comes with these white plastic sights that Glock is famous for. That is definitely a downside of the Glock. The Glock is a striker-fired pistol with a trigger safety, and what that means is that there's basically no external hammer, and when you cock the gun, as you can see there, it's empty, and you pull the trigger, you have to depress that trigger safety before the trigger will go off. You can see I'm pressing on the side there, nothing's happening. Press the trigger safety, the gun goes off. And one of the benefits of a striker-fired system is that you have a consistent trigger pull with every single shot. Now the CZ is a double single action pistol with either a manual safety or just a decocker. This pistol currently does not have a manual safety. It has the decocker in it, and what that does is it basically decocks the external hammer to make the trigger pull longer again, which is basically the safety on this pistol is the long first double action pull. As you can see there, you can decock the pistol, and when you're pulling the trigger, it is a much longer, heavier trigger pull than it would be on the second round on single action. And like I said before, I really like the double single action. Maybe I'm a little old school when it comes to that, but I really like the idea of not worrying about any safety at all and just simply worrying about that trigger. I like to worry about as little things as possible. And we talked about the traditional Glock sights, so I'm going to quickly talk about one of the big failures of the CZ in my opinion. As you can see, these sights are plain black with the little dots. That's because they did have little white dots on them, but after the first 2 or 3 magazines, all of them completely fell off, and you were left with just a plain black sight picture. Now that's not terrible, but I don't really like that as far as quality goes, because that just shows poor manufacturing to me. But you can switch those out and get a good red fiber optic front with a black rear. That would be my choice, or you can get some tritium sights as well. They are available, but right out of the factory, that's kind of a disappointment to me. Let's get into what you would buy these pistols for. As I said, it's just a full-size duty pistol. They're both amazing pistols at that. Concealed carry, you could do it. I always talk about my buddy Max. He concealed carries a Glock 17 all the time. If you can conceal carry that, you can easily conceal carry this because they are the same size. You could use it for home defense. This is actually what my Glock 17 is doing currently. That's why it has my super tactical Surefire X300 on it. Believe it or not, it actually serves a purpose because you might want to see what you're actually shooting at. Military and law enforcement both use these pistols all around the world, So they have a very good track record, both of them, and they are good to go. The Glock 17 happens to have a better track record than the CZ P09 because the Glock 17 has been around longer. There's 4 generations of the Glock 17. The fourth generation of the Glock kind of got a little slack, but I have several of them, and they are very reliable. The P09, I'm not too sure about the track record of the P09, but I can tell you from my personal experience that this is 100% reliable. As far as durability goes, they're both made out of equal parts. The durability of the barrel might be a little bit better on the CZ because it is cold hammer forged. I do like that. It is not on the Glock, I don't believe. Don't quote me on that, but I don't think it is. So the durability of the barrel will be a little bit better, but overall, I don't think you're going to shoot enough rounds through it to ever kill a Glock. I think you can shoot at least 40 to 50,000 rounds through it. So durability is a 10 on both of them. As far as price goes, MSRP, you're looking at about $530 for the CZ, but you're never going to pay that. You go on Gunbroker, you can see them as low as $400. That is a steal to me. This gun is definitely worth $400. If you see one, I recommend it right away. Pick one of those up. The Glocks, the Gen 3s run about $500. The Gen 4s can go anywhere from $500 to $600. Again, this is a Vickers Tactical model. It comes with the sights and the mag release and a bunch of other stuff. So you will not get this for $500, but if you'd like to see a full review on this gun, I have one available on my channel. So as far as price value goes, the CZ, even though it only wins by about 50 to 100 bucks, it does win. I'd have to give value to the CZ. Back to reliability real fast is that I have over 1,000 rounds through this Glock 17 and thousands of rounds through Glock 17s before this. I've owned plenty of them before this. I also have around 600, 700 rounds-ish through the CZ. So do I know if it's going to be reliable? I really think so, yeah, since I haven't seen it malfunction yet. I think it would take a kind of a catastrophic fail to make this an unreliable pistol at this point, but I just want to put it out there that I don't have near as many rounds through this pistol as I do this one. Let's get into ergonomics here. As I said, the Glock is very simple. A lot of people like that about the Glock. I would have to agree. The mag release is a little small in the Gen 3s. I would upgrade that. The slide release isn't really meant to be a slide release on a Glock. You're supposed to do the overhand cocking maneuver, which is cool. The trigger safety we already talked about. It has just a standard light rail. It doesn't have a Picatinny rail like the CZ does, and it comes with your traditional white Glock sights. The Gen 4s also have removable back straps to make the pistol either bigger or smaller depending on what you want. I believe the Gen 3s will take the grip adapter. It gives it like a beaver tail. I owned one in the past, but I forget if I liked it or not. But don't quote me on that, but I think they will. The CZs also come with the back straps. I have the medium back strap on right now because that, to me, because that replicates the CZ75 grip the closest, in my opinion. The CZ, as we said before, has the double single action. It has a much bigger slide stop, as you can see there. The only problem with it, though, is that it's a little hard to reach. And even for I have pretty big hands, and you have a hard time getting around that decocker / safety. I haven't put the safety on it, but to get around that, you really got to reach. But it's really easy to push down once you do access it. Maybe that's why they push it so far ahead, and it's very large. So if you break a grip real quick and hit it, or if you do, like I found myself doing, when I would reload, my hand would come up and hit it before it would go into position. So I would just hit it like that and go into position. It didn't make me lose that much time, and it felt pretty natural. One of the things I didn't like about it quite as much is kind of the style of decocker that it is. One of the advantages to the CZ75, in my opinion, is that you can ledge your thumb on the safety and really push down and help hold that gun in place under recoil. You can't really do that with the CZ P09 simply because of how it's shaped. But that's okay. It's not as comfortable, but it's all right. Now, one of the big drawbacks, I think, to the CZ design, and one of its biggest advantages, is this inlaid slide. What that does, basically, is it lowers the bore axis on the CZ a little bit. Now, when people say the CZ has a lower bore axis than the Glock because of its inlaid slide, I would have to disagree with that. You can compare the two yourself, if you would like. but I think you can see that my hand, see how close that is to the bottom of the Glock, see how close that is to the bottom of the CZ. The Glock definitely has a lower bore axis. However, the CZ definitely has significantly less recoil. Other than the Arsenal Strike 1, I think, I would have to say the CZ P09 has the lowest recoil of any polymer gun I've ever fired. Now that's polymer gun. Now it's not a wonder gun. The AccuShadow has a lower recoil than that. I did several videos on recoil, how to minimize it, and so on and so on. You can check those videos out if you like. But for polymer pistols, very low recoil. So it would be a really good choice to give your girlfriend or maybe your younger son or daughter when you're trying to teach them how to shoot. The lower recoil, the better when it comes to teaching new shooters. Now the con to the slide, as we talked about before, is that it's a little more difficult to manipulate the slide. And the reason for that is simply because you have less real estate. Now the good news is that it does have forward and rear cocking serrations, which is really nice. The forward cocking serrations I barely ever use, but I think it makes pistols look really cool, so I gravitate toward pistols that do have those. It also has a full Picatinny rail. I do like that because I switch my X300 and XC1 from my ARs to my pistols, and I don't like to have to change the adapter because if you don't, it rattles around. So I do like the full Picatinny rail. That's really nice. But getting back to the slide here, you can manipulate it relatively easy, but you have to remember that when you come over like this, you're going to have to change your grip a little bit to get your thumb on there because it's a little easier to miss with that less real estate than on the Glock, which just kind of feels natural. Another advantage to the P09 is that it does hold 19+1. Yes, I said that correctly. It holds 20 rounds of 9mm, which to me makes this a great bedside gun because I hope that you won't need to reload if you have 20 rounds of 9mm. Now, does that really matter in a carry gun? This carries 17+1, the Glock 19 carries 15+1. All of those I think are really adequate, but for about the same grip length, I think that 19+1 is really impressive. So to me, that's another win for the CZ. Now, where the Glock kind of pulls ahead as far as the ergonomics go is the weight. Glock is kind of the king of lightweight when it comes to full-size duty pistols. The Glock comes in right around 25 ounces, which is very impressive, and the CZ comes in at around 29.5. Now to me that's only 4 ounces more, so that doesn't really bother me too much, but you have to remember ounces equal pounds and pounds equal pain. So anytime you can cut the weight, let's say if this is a backup gun to your rifle, I lean more towards the Glock 17 simply because you're less likely to use it. Now if it's your full-size duty gun and your primary weapon, you're going to be relying on it all the time, I don't think there's really a reason to go for the Glock over the CZ when it comes to that as far as weight goes. That weight also helps negate some of the recoil on the CZ, especially with the full-length dust cover that it has. The grip on the Glock, as far as the Gen 3 goes, I prefer the texturing of the P09. This is an RTF grip, so it doesn't really count. This is a special grip that, this is kind of a special grip on Glocks, and traditional Glocks don't come with this much texture. It's also my favorite grip on Glocks. It's the RTF2. But the Gen 4 Glocks, I think, have a little bit more texture than the P09. When I shot the P09, I did shoot it with sandpaper grips on. But I think both of them could use more texture, but I'm one of those guys who put sandpaper grips on everything. So you're just going to have to feel them and decide for yourself whether or not it has more texture. But as I said before, either stippling or Talon grips, it's an easy fix either way. The P09 has the classic ergonomics of the CZ75, which I think is one of the most which I think personally is one of the most ergonomic pistols ever made. So I really like that, but I have to admit I am biased. Now when I pick up the Glock, the grip angle doesn't really bother me like it does most people that I've heard, but if you shoot a 1911 or an M&P and then you go right to the Glock, you will notice that you have to change your grip around just a little bit, because you will end up shooting a little bit higher or lower depending on what pistol you're shooting. So be careful, because the Glock does have a very unique grip angle. Now the CZ is a little more straightforward, and with the back straps you can make it almost completely like a 1911 style grip angle. So that's a big advantage to the CZ as well, right out of the box. So again, I am biased, but overall, as far as ergonomics go, I have to go for the CZ. I like the striker fire design, I really do, and if I would have shot a Glock in competition all these years, I think that I would have leaned more towards it. But since the CZ is probably the pistol I shoot the most, I really like the single double action. I like options, and I like the fact that it has bigger controls, and I like the fact that it feels better in my hand, so I gotta go with the CZ. Desired accessories to make these pistols better. The first thing I would do is I would add grip stippling on both of these pistols. The second thing I would do would be to immediately change the sights on both these pistols. That's one of the big things I don't like. I don't like the traditional Glock sights, and I really don't like the black on black sights of the CZ. For about $70 for a decent sight, a set of sights, 70 to 150 depending on what you're buying. You know, Ameriglows, Trijicon HDs, fiber optics, all those are good. Even these Vickers tactical sights are really good. But get yourself a good set of sights on there, and then get yourself a trigger job. The Glock trigger job is going to be significantly easier. That's an advantage. You could drop in a little trigger connector, or they sell Glock drop-in triggers on eBay. You could buy for $100 and drop this in yourself relatively easy. As far as the CZ goes, if I were going to do a trigger job on this, I would send this to either I would send this to CZ Custom. You could send it to Cajun Gunworks, but I've had really good service through CZ Custom. I will continue to go there. I like the way they do business. But they have great products, and they could revamp your whole CZ P09 for you and make you just an awesome pistol. Not that you couldn't do the same thing for a Glock. You certainly could. You can check out like Zev custom packages. You know, there's anything you would ever want to change on a Glock Gen 3 or Gen 4, you can. There's an accessory for every different thing on this pistol. You could even build yourself a Glock 17 ground up simply from parts. Lone Wolf even has a totally different model of Glock if you want to check that out as well. I've heard good things about it. As far as takedown and cleaning, takedown, kind of an advantage to the Glock 17. I don't really want to take them down on camera right now, but they're both relatively easy. You just pull the trigger there, hit this, slide the slide off. This CZ P09, you match these notches up here like that. You push use a magazine, push this pin in, pull it out, slide the slide off. Neither one of them takes a rocket scientist, but the Glock is a little bit easier because you can just do it one quick movement as opposed to using the magazine, pushing it in, pulling it out, pushing it back in. So advantage on takedown, got to go with the Glock, but neither one of them are difficult. How often do you have to clean them? Well, never, honestly, if you don't want to. I've seen people shoot thousands of rounds through Glocks without cleaning them. You lube them a little bit, fire. I wouldn't recommend that, but you can do it. I usually clean my Glock every couple hundred rounds or so because they're super easy to clean. I would suggest the same with the P09, although I don't think you'd have to, again, but I would suggest it. Another thing that I learned in my testing with certain 1911s, one disadvantage to the P09 that I just thought of is the external hammer can get debris in it. If you were to drop this gun in the mud while you were in a fight, or drop this gun in snow or something like that, it can cause a malfunction getting between the hammer and the firing pin in there. You will not have that with the Glock 17. As far as accuracy goes, I've shot plenty of groups with the Glock 17. I also shot this at 50 yards, and it was relatively easy. Both these pistols, I think, are about equally as accurate. I don't really want to really dive into it. I don't really do serious accuracy tests with pistols because most pistols are more accurate than the people that shoot them in the first place. But as I said, I didn't have any problems with the P09 hitting at 50 and maybe even a little beyond. I don't really remember. I think the farthest we shot it is 50. And the Glock 17, we've hit targets at 100 yards relatively easily. So both these pistols, accuracy is a 10 out of 10. Now you can make the accuracy better, obviously, with a good trigger job and a good set of sights. Keep that in mind. Problems that I encountered with both of these pistols. The sights falling out of the CZ kind of pissed me off. You know, I've mentioned that a couple times in this video already, simply because I really like CZ as a company. I really like their products, and that's kind of one of the first fails that I've had. So it's not really a fail because they would totally still work, but that is a problem I encountered. The lack of grip texture was kind of an issue, but other than that, I can't really think of anything glaring off the top of my head. Both of these are excellent pistols. So, in my final review, if I had to pick one of these two pistols, what would I choose? Well, to be completely honest with you, even though I like the CZ a little bit more, I would probably still choose the Glock. Why? Because the Glock is the reference standard. There's a reason why all of my reviews are something versus a Glock, because the Glock's one of the most popular polymer pistols on the market, and probably the most popular, and probably the most well-known, and one of the best. But if I had to rate these pistols, I would each give them a 10, a solid 10. I really would. If I owned both of these pistols, I would shoot the P09 more, but if I had to buy one and keep it just forever, just one gun, I'd have to go with the Glock. Thanks, guys. I probably forgot some stuff like I always do, and if I did, please leave it in the comments below. Also, if you know anything that I don't, please leave it in the comments below. I like to see what you guys write down. Please like and subscribe if you're new and you like the video. It really helps me out. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yep. That's a blooper.